Helping all students succeed in their learning is an enormous challenge, and it requires, whether we like it or not, innovative thinking. Understanding this framework can serve as an organizing structure to help teachers understand learning and how learners think and how learners learn today. I'm not suggesting that all of us should become neuroscientists, no. But we can use this paradigm of the changing brain and the brain plasticity and how our students today differ from the students in the past to help use new tools in order to educate our students. We can no longer, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, whether we respect new technology or not, we can no longer resume to teach so many different and possibly, think about it, more advanced students than even us, the teachers, by simply using techniques which were designed in the previous century. Sometimes we might categorize students as weak, lazy, slow, dyslexic, and what other things you want to call them as, simply because we don't understand how they think, simply because we don't teach them the way that would benefit them. We teach them the way that we have been taught, or we teach them the way that we prefer to teach, regardless of the fact that this is not the way that would benefit certain group of my students. So what do? Do I discriminate my students? Disassociate the group and say, okay, you're going to learn kinesthetically and you're going to learn visually or orally? No, of course not, because we can't know from the beginning which trends develop in which individual brains. But research on neuroscience, cognitive psychology, child and adolescent development, and other related fields about, for example, how the brain functions and how does that affect students' learning or performance at any point in a student's development, has steered us nowadays in a very, very different journey from the one we set out decades ago. We see very different classrooms today, thank God, from what we had when we were students. Again, I'm going to refer you back to my youth, and I will tell you, when I was about, I don't know, 11, 10, maybe 12 years old, if I remember correctly, I used to watch this science fiction series, which used to be called Battlestar Galactica, the original Galactica. Now, I remember a scene that was very striking in that series, where I saw a classroom. At the time, mind you, that time, computers were not even invented. Personal computers were not invented. Houses didn't have personal computers. So in that series, I saw a classroom where all the students were sat in their desks, and each student had their individual computer, and they had interactive devices interacting with the teacher, and behind the teacher there was an interactive whiteboard. And at the time, the concept of the interactive whiteboard wasn't even a concept. Nobody even, fathomed the idea of having a board where the teacher can click buttons and do things. And there were holographic projections, and the students were learning through visuals and through holograms in the classrooms. And I remember watching this series and I was thinking, oh my God, why isn't my classroom like that? I wish my classroom was like that, because if it was like that, it would have saved so much time from the teacher, because visual examples are much more memorable to students. She would have saved her voice, because things would be, explained to us through technology, and the lesson would have been much more interesting for us, because our focus wouldn't be solely on a book or a teacher. We would have so much different stimuli in the same classroom that, we would never feel bored. So yeah, that was a scene that's marked my life since I watched it. And I know now that I'm very happy that we have some of this technology already. Okay, we haven't had holographic technology yet, but who knows? I think some companies are working on that as we speak. But we do have personal computers. Now, in many classrooms around the world, students are going in the lessons with tablets. In many classrooms around the world, we have interactive whiteboards, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that there are companies who are even developing interactive desks for students. So that would be a variety in the classroom. Mind you, having said that, not for 1 second I want us to be completely misconceived by saying that we're going to forget about books altogether and the whole of the educational system should focus only on digitals and technology and gadgets in the classroom. By far, no. We definitely need everything. We need the book discipline too. We shouldn't live in the Fahrenheit era where people are burning books. No, definitely not. Books are a valuable source of information, and there are books that were written years and decades ago that cannot be found still in the digital world. Not only that, but our ability to read and write might be lost if we completely forget about books, especially write. If we completely forget about books, we need paper books too, just as much as we need to focus on the new trends of technology. So we need to find and strike just the right balance to have everything. Let's not forget that depending on the types of students we have, we might have students who are children, who are born in this era, in the era of digital natives, who might very happily work with technology, but sometimes our students, when we're teaching languages, we're not talking just about children. We might have students who might even be 50 or 60 years old. And yes, why not? They can still learn a language at that age. And in that cases, we might have students who hate computers. Having said that, it can even go vice versa. You might have adults who are gadget freaks, and you might have students who actually don't like working through computers. As I said, each of us are a different person. We are unique, we are individuals. So there are no norms on what we should or shouldn't like, on how we should or shouldn't learn. Each of us have our preferred mediums of learning. So that's why the balance is important.